A cautionary tale. This is one of those Freeman on the land, sovereign citizen type cases, or as they're collectively known, organised pseudo-legal commercial arguments. But this is quite a sad one. I mean, sometimes we, have a bit of a laugh about these things, and there's loads of videos out there of people arguing parking fines into jail sentences. But this is a really tragic one because it's a family case. And to give a basic overview, couple separating. Mother makes certain allegations against the father. Police investigate, find nothing there. But there needs to be a hearing about who ends up with looking after the child. The child was just past 1 year old. The father has said, I think that the child should stay with mother, and I just like regular contact. But because of these allegations, the court said, fair enough, but we need to investigate this because the mere fact they've been dismissed criminally doesn't mean that, to the civil standard, I can't find them. And also in family law, even though everything's supposedly on the balance of probabilities, they take a lot more of a risk factor into account there. So theoretically, it's just, on the balance of probabilities, is there a risk of potential harm here? So it needed investigating. However, the mother did not cooperate at all. And she's just sent emails to the court raising all these freedom on the land type stuff, maritime law, I didn't contract to this, would not engage whatsoever. Despite the court bending over backwards, they said, look, you can have special measures, we're happy for you to do this by video, I will grant you legal aid, even though this is technically a private law case, it's got a public law element now, so I'll say, the state will pay for you for a lawyer. So really, bending over backwards. A guardian was appointed for the child to look after the child's interests. But just zero cooperation. Every time they went around the house, the mother wouldn't answer the door. Sometimes the mother's mother would answer the door and say, there's nobody here. And they were very, very concerned about this. What particularly concerned the judge was just, the atmosphere at home, bearing in mind the tone of the emails and letters that were being sent to the court. So it transpired. The mother said, I don't need a lawyer. I am being, somebody is assisting me, a legal expert, but not a lawyer is assisting me. And it was one of these sort of people who promote all these freedom on the land arguments. But what was the upshot of this case? The upshot of this case was that in the end, the court had no choice. They said, well, we can either put the child into foster care or father will just have to look after the child full time. And that's what the court did. Now, the court said, look, we're going to have to let you, take care of the child. We'll put in place a procedure, hopefully, so eventually mother can get back involved in the child's life, but I want lots of supervision here. It's transpired, of course, that eventually she came to her senses and said, I was misled. This person told me all this stuff. I now accept it's not correct. And that doesn't seem to be just her saying that because, I'll say anything to get my child back. This seems to be that she recognised this. And they'd ordered a psychiatric evaluation and they'd found out that the mother was particularly susceptible to the outside influence of other people. But yeah, I just think this is a really tragic sort of, like I say, cautionary tale and a warning. If it's just a sort of, a parking dispute or even a commercial case and you lose it just because you run silly arguments, well, no harm done. But this was one where children were involved. Courts are becoming very wise to this. They all know that this goes on. And in some jurisdictions now, a couple of US states and some places in Canada, you can always strike out a claim or a case or an argument if it is considered to be vexatious. And I've done another video about sort of vexatious litigation. But now what the courts have said is, we can just look at this, and if there's any element of sovereign citizen or freeman on the land, we say that's prima facie. This case is an abuse of process. So even things like putting, of the family Smith or of the family Jones, or sort of saying, I don't accept the jurisdiction of the court. This is maritime law. I want the judge to do his oath, and anything like that. The courts now are just striking out cases without even considering whether there's any underlying merits to them. So it's a warning.